Wait, this isn't a commercial flight. Monica James stood frozen at the top of the private jet staircase, her carry-on still clutched tightly in one hand. Her eyes darted across a luxurious cabin. Plush white leather seats, gold-rimmed champagne flutes, and the quiet hum of a jet designed for the elite. Not a single nurse, medical supply, or emergency kit in sight. This was not what she expected. Monica, a 28-year-old black nurse from Atlanta, had just wrapped up one of the toughest weeks of her life. She'd been volunteering in Haiti, helping in an understaffed rural clinic devastated by a recent storm. She had worked around the clock, setting broken bones, comforting families, and delivering babies under candlelight. Now, running on 2 hours of sleep and pure adrenaline, she just wanted to get home, take a long shower, and maybe eat something that didn't come out of a tin. The airport was chaotic. Small, hot, understaffed. The signs were faded, and the flight crew seemed more concerned about their phones and passengers. When someone pointed her toward the tarmac and said, "That's your plane, Miss James," she didn't question it. She boarded. She climbed the stairs. And now, here she was. "Excuse me," she called out nervously, taking a cautious step inside. "Is this Flight 816 to Miami?" The only person on board, a sharply dressed man in a navy blue suit, looked up from his tablet. His eyes met hers, curious but calm. He was seated near the front, sipping from a crystal glass, with an air of someone used to first-class everything. "No," he said, raising an eyebrow. "This is Flight LX9 to Paris." Monica blinked, her heart skipping. "Paris," she whispered. "I think I'm on the wrong flight." The man set his tablet aside, stood up, and walked over. He was tall, effortlessly confident, with the kind of face Monica had seen on Forbes covers while waiting in line at CVS. Liam Westwood, billionaire, founder of the Westwood global tech empire, tabloid regular, rumored to be dating supermodels and buying islands before lunch. And here he was, standing just a few feet away, now looking at her like she was the most interesting part of his day. "You sure it's the wrong flight?" he asked, a half-smile forming. Monica's cheeks flushed. Her hair was pulled back in a tired bun. Her scrubs were wrinkled and stained with God knows what from the Haitian clinic. She looked the exact opposite of the kind of woman who belonged on a private jet. I was told this was a medical transport back to the States," she said, stepping back toward the door. Liam chuckled, then gestured toward the empty seat across from his. "Well, you made it onto a billionaire's jet instead. That doesn't happen every day." "I'm so sorry. I'll get off right now," Monica said quickly. But as she toned, the door behind her began to close. The ground crew outside gave a thumbs up. The engines roared to life. Liam looked over her shoulder and said casually, "Too late. Wear wheels up in 60 seconds. "What?" No, I can't go to Paris. I don't even have my passport on me," she cried, panicking. "Relax," he said, still oddly calm. "Paris doesn't require a visa for Americans. You'll get in just fine. Worst case, you'll fly back from there. Or," he added, tilting his head, "you stay a few days. See the city. Unwind." Monica stared at him like he'd lost his mind. "You don't even know me." He shrugged. "Well, that's the exciting part, isn't it?" Monica could hardly believe what was happening. One minute, she was preparing for a cramped commercial flight home. The next, she was seated across from a billionaire, sipping orange juice from a crystal glass and watching the coastline of Haiti disappear through the oval window. It felt like a dream. Or a prank. Or both. "I'm Monica, by the way," she said finally, her voice still unsure. "Liam," he said with a smirk. "But you knew that already, didn't you?" She rolled her eyes. "I work 12-hour hospital shifts. I don't exactly keep up with the rich and famous." Liam laughed, a genuine, full laugh. "Then you're already more refreshing than anyone I've flown with in years." As the jet climbed higher, Monica began to relax. Her shoulders softened. Her breathing steadied. She wasn't sure how this had happened, or what would come of it. But for the first time in weeks, she wasn't rushing, worrying, or sacrificing. She was just existing. And maybe, just maybe, that was exactly what she needed. Instead of turning her away or calling security like Monica half expected, Liam was intrigued. He studied her for a moment, not with judgment, but curiosity. Monica stood there in wrinkled blue scrubs, her carry-on bag slung over one shoulder, and her curly hair tied up in a tired, messy bun. She looked nothing like the polished, high-society women Liam was used to flying with. No designer bags, no stilettos, no dramatic demands for champagne. She looked real, and that was rare in Liam Westwood world. "You look like you've had a week," he said, offering her a drink from the silver tray his flight attendant had just delivered. Sparkling water, fresh fruit, and a warm croissant. "Sit. Tell me how this happened." At first, Monica hesitated. She was embarrassed and didn't want to overstep. But something about Liam, his easy tone, the way he leaned forward like he genuinely wanted to know, put her at ease. So she sat today. She explained everything. How she'd spent the last 7 days in Haiti working in a storm-damaged clinic, helping treat patients with barely any resources. How she'd been up for nearly 2 days straight. How she was supposed to catch a small charter flight that would get her back to the States. And how a distracted airport worker had pointed her to the wrong jet. Liam listened intently, eyes never leaving Hayes. No interruptions. No checking his phone. Just quiet nods and the occasional smile when she said something funny. When she finished her story, she sighed. "So yeah, here I am, on the wrong plane, headed to Paris, and very, very out of place." Liam tilted his head, then grinned. "Well, we're headed to Paris regardless. You can get off next stop and catch a flight home, or," he said, eyes twinkling, "you can stay a little longer and have the adventure of a lifetime." Monica blinked. "Are you serious?" "As serious as a heart monitor flatlining," he joked. Her return flight wasn't for hours anyway. She'd have to sit at the airport, drained and sleep-deprived. Oh, she could ride this unexpected wave a little longer. There was no logical reason to say yes, but her gut said something else. Why not? So she stayed. The jet ascended through soft clouds, and Monica soon found herself staring out the window as the sun set behind them in glowing streaks of orange and pink. It was the quietest she'd felt in months. No buzzing machines, no hallway codes, no crying patients or overbooked schedules. Just silence. And Liam. As the hours passed and the city lights below faded into darkness, conversation flowed naturally. She told him about growing up in Atlanta, about her mother, who was also a nurse, and how her dream was to one day open a community clinic that served people regardless of their ability to pay. She shared funny hospital stories, heartbreaking ones too, and how, even when things felt impossible, one thank you from a patient made everything worth it. In return, Liam shared more about himself than he usually would with a stranger. He'd talk about building his tech company from a college dorm, how he often felt like a prisoner of his own success, and how the pressure to be on all the time was exhausting. "No one ever just asks how I'm doing," he said quietly. "But you did." They laughed. A lot. Especially when Monica confessed she thought he was just a rich guy with too many apps. He replied, "You're not wrong." The hours melted away. No phones. No cameras. No walls. Just two people, cruising 30,000 feet above the world, connecting in a space where titles, appearances, and expectations didn't matter. Eventually, Monica dozed off. Liam watched her sleep for a few moments, her head resting against the window, peaceful at last. Something inside him stayed. He couldn't quite name it, but it wasn't what he usually felt around women he dated. This wasn't about appearances or attraction. It was something deeper. When the captain announced their descent into Paris, Monica woke to the soft glow of the city lights below. Her eyes widened at the sight. Even through the tiny oval window, Paris shimmered like a dream, golden, alive, full of possibility. And just like that, what started as a simple mix-up didn't feel like a mistake anymore. It felt like fate. Liam had the resources to show Monica the kind of Paris most people only see in movies. Private museums, penthouse suites, and luxury boutiques on the Champs-Élysées. But that's not what he offered her. Instead, he said with a grin, "Let's do Paris the way Parisians do. No filters, no fanfare. Just you, me, and the city." He kept his word. There were no paparazzi following them, no security detail trailing behind, and definitely no multi-course Michelin star menus. Just Liam and Monica, blending into the rhythm of the city like two souls who belonged there all along. Their first stop? A street vendor near the Seine, where they ordered hot buttery crepe stuffed with Nutella and strawberries. Monica laughed as the chocolate dripped onto her fingers. Liam offered her a napkin and accidentally smeared it across her nose, sending them both into a fit of giggles that echoed along the quiet riverbank. They wandered through cobblestone alleyways, their footsteps clicking in sync, stopping at every quirky little bookstore and corner cafe that caught Monica's eye. In one shop, hidden behind an ivy-covered doorway, she found an old, dog-eared French nursing textbook and grinned. "First edition," she whispered, brushing her fingers over the worn cover like it was treasure. Liam bought it on the spot. They sipped espresso from tiny ceramic cups while people watching from rickety outdoor chairs. They visited a local flower market where Liam tried, and failed, to pronounce pivoine peony, to the amusement of an elderly florist who winked at Monica and whispered in French, "He's trying hard for you, Sherry." Monica's favorite moment came unexpectedly. While walking through the 14th arrondissement, they passed a small community clinic, modest, a little rundown, but alive with activity. Something in her heart tugged. She paused at the gate, watching a nurse bandaging a little boy's scraped knee. Without hesitation, Monica walked in. She introduced herself, offered to help, and within minutes was assisting with minor treatments. Language barriers be damned. Her energy shifted. She was in her element. The clinic staff welcomed her like family. Liam watched from a bench outside, smiling as he saw her light up from the inside out. "She's incredible," one of the doctors said in French, nodding toward Monica. Liam didn't need a translation. He already knew. That night, after dinner at a modest cafe tucked under a canopy of vines, Liam rented 2 bicycles from a local shop. They rode along the Seine, laughter and teasing echoing between them, with Monica wobbling every time she tried to ride one-handed. "Okay, I haven't ridden a bike since high school," she admitted, breathless. "You're doing great," Liam said, slowing down to ride beside her. When they reached the Eiffel Tower, it was just past 11 p.m. The lights began to sparkle, twinkling against the night sky in a way that seemed to pause time. They stopped on a quiet pedestrian bridge. Below, the river shimmered. Around them, tourists were fading, but Paris, Real Paris, was still very much alive. Liam turned to Monica. The glow of the tower reflected in her eyes, but it was more than that. She radiated something else: compassion, depth, resilience. He looked at her for a long moment and finally said, "You've seen more heartbreak and healing than most people ever will. How are you still so full of light?" Monica was quiet for a moment. She glanced down at her hands, then up at the tower. Her voice, when it came, was soft but sure. "Because I've learned that love, in its purest form, is found in the smallest acts. In holding a patient's hand when they are scared. In listening without judgment. In remembering someone's name. That's what I try to give, and that's what I hope to find." Liam didn't speak right away. He just looked at her, not as a billionaire or man used to getting what he wanted, but as someone who had just found something rare, someone genuine, grounded, and quietly extraordinary. He realized then, he wasn't just fascinated by her. He was falling for her. This wasn't a vacation fling or some luxurious distraction. It was something real. Something unexpected. And for the first time in a long time, Liam Westwood didn't feel like he was floating above the world in a glass tower. He felt human, thanks to Monica. But fairy tales, as magical as they seem, have their cracks. Monica had begun to let herself believe this surreal journey was something more than chance. That maybe she and Liam, though from wildly different worlds, were being pulled together by something deeper. But reality doesn't wait for permission to intrude. It started with whispers. A blurry photo appeared online, Monica and Liam, holding hands, laughing beside the Seine. Then came another. The two of them seated closely in a dim-lit Parisian cafe, heads bent in conversation, their connection unmistakable. The tabloids jumped on it like wolves. Liam Westwood spotted in Paris with unknown woman, mystery girlfriend identified as nurse from Atlanta. Billionaire border models? New flame isn't famous, she's a healthcare worker. Monica James, the nurse who stole the tech king's heart. Monica's phone buzzed nonstop. Hundreds of messages. People she hadn't spoken to in years reached out. News outlets were suddenly interested in her past, her Instagram posts, her nursing career. Some praised her. Others mocked her. And then the hotel lobby swarmed with paparazzi. Flashes. Shouting. Microphones shoved in her face. One reporter even asked, "Are you pregnant with Liam's child?" Another sneered, "Are you doing this for a book deal?" That night, Monica sat on the edge of the hotel bed, staring at a reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at her seemed lost, disconnected. She hadn't asked for this. She didn't want to be the nurse who dated a billionaire. She just wanted to help people, to work, to live quietly, not to have her face plastered across gossip sites next to airbrush celebrities. She turned to Liam, who was scrolling through a flurry of media alerts. His expression was unreadable, calm, but distant. "Used to this. I can't do this," she said quietly. Liam looked up. "We'll figure it out." "No," Monica said, standing. Us, it was a moment. A beautiful one. But this isn't real life. I don't belong in your world. "Monica, I'm just a nurse," she said, trying to pack her suitcase with trembling hands. "I deal with patients who can't afford insulin. I ride the bus to work. You have a private jet and bodyguards and 100 people who filter your water before you drink it. You're not just anything," Liam said, rising to his feet. "You're someone who walked onto my jet by accident and changed the way I see everything. You don't need to fit into my world. Maybe I need to step into yours." But Monica shook her head, tears threatening to fall. "You'll get tired of trying. I'll get tired of pretending I'm not drowning in all of this." There was a long silence. Then she zipped her suitcase and whispered, "This was never meant to last." She walked out, back to the airport, back to Atlanta, back to the life she knew. The early morning shifts, the overworked hours, the quiet satisfaction of making a difference one patient at a time. Her friends welcomed her home. Her co-workers were proud of her. Patients still called her the angel in blue. But something inside her felt different, emptier. The sparkle of Paris was gone, but the memory remained. As for Liam, he vanished from the spotlight. No press conferences, no red carpets. His company released a statement saying he was taking a sabbatical to pursue personal projects. The world speculated. Was he heartbroken? Was he planning a wedding in secret? Was the no story a PR stunt? No one knew. But Liam Westwood was gone. Not just from headlines, but from Monica's world, too. She tried to focus, to bury herself in her work. But late at night, she'd lie awake and wonder, had she made a mistake by walking away? Or had she saved them both from a future built on fantasy? All she knew was this: she had tasted something rare, something real. And even if it was fleeting, it had left a mark on her heart that no spotlight or social media storm could ever erase. Sometimes, the hardest part of a love story isn't the heartbreak. It's realizing how close you came to having something extraordinary, and letting it go. 3 weeks had passed since Monica walked away from Liam. Life at Grady Memorial Hospital returned to its usual rhythm. The night shifts, the alarms, the steady flow of patients. Monica threw herself back into wake, determined to keep her heart and mind occupied. But late at night, during the quiet moments in between emergencies, her thoughts wandered. She'd remember the scent of fresh croissants, the laughter echoing down narrow Paris streets, the sparkle of the Eiffel Tower in Liam's eyes. Still, she convinced herself she had made the right decision. After all, fairy tales weren't meant to last. They were just glimpses, beautiful, but fleeting. Then, one quiet Tuesday night, as she was charting vitals near the nurse's station, the receptionist walked over with a confused smile. "Monica, these are for you." A nurse beside her gasped. Monica looked up and froze. In the woman's hands was the most stunning bouquet she'd ever seen. Parisian roses, soft pink, cream, and deep red, tied with a silk ribbon. Tucked between the petals was a crisp white envelope. There was no note inside, just a first-class ticket to Paris. Monica stayed at it, heart pounding. She hadn't spoken to Liam since she left. There had been no texts, no calls, just silence. She toned. searching the hallway for answers, only to find herself face to face with the last person she expected to see. Liam, wearing blue scrubs, smiling like he'd been waiting forever. She blinked, stunned. "What are you doing here?" "I'm volunteering," he said, stepping forward. "At that clinic you showed me in Paris. Turns out they needed someone to help upgrade their tech system. Scheduling, inventory, digital records, you name it." Monica was speechless. "You went back?" Liam nodded. "Spent the last 3 weeks shadowing the nurses. Listening, learning. No suits, no phones. Just reality. And I liked it." She laughed, her eyes filling with tears. "You're impossible." He stepped closer, eyes soft. "Or maybe I'm just finally waking up to what's real." For a long second, neither of them spoke. The hospital buzz around them, monitors beeping, stretchers rolling, but all Monica could hear was her own heartbeat. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "I missed you." Liam reached into his pocket and pulled out a small notebook, her old nursing journal, the one she had left behind on the jet. "You forgot this," he said, "but I read a few pages." She raised an eyebrow. "You read my journal?" "Only the ones with hearts doodled in the margins," he teased. Then, more seriously, "you wrote about wanting to build something. A place that heals without judgment. A place where money doesn't decide who gets care." Monica nodded slowly. "That's always been the dream." "Well," he said, handing the journal back to her, "how about we build it together?" She looked at him, trying to find words, but there were none, because in that moment, it all made sense. Everything she thought was a mistake, boarding the wrong jet, spending days with a man from another universe, walking away from a fairy tale, had actually been the beginning of something real, something grounded, something powerful. Not just love, but purpose. Today, Monica and Liam aren't just a couple. They are partners. They co-founded the Bridge Project, a non-profit organization that funds and builds medical clinics in underserved communities. Their first clinic opened in Atlanta, followed by a second in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, and a third, recently unveiled in Paris, in the very arrondissement where Monica treated a scraped knee. Each clinic is designed with Monica's vision and powered by Liam's technology, digital systems that make quality care faster, smoother, and more accessible for people who've been forgotten by traditional healthcare. They travel often, but not for luxury, for mission, for impact. And yet, no matter how far they go, they always make time for each other. 4 crepes by the river, 4 long bike rides through city streets, 4 quiet moments that remind them how this all began. Sometimes, Liam will whisper, "Still think you boarded the wrong plane?" Monica just laughs and says, "Best wrong turn of my life." Because sometimes, life doesn't follow your plans. Sometimes, it takes you off course, throws you onto the wrong flight, into unfamiliar arms, in cities you never expected to see. But maybe that's exactly where you're meant to be. And what started as an accident turned into a love story the world never saw coming. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more real, magical, and inspiring tales just like this one.